12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got your Black.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7 years. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First Black on Talk Radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted Black and Brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the move. So we tune in to First Things First with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. Happy Friday. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First. And my first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. We got a lot to talk about. So here's our Friday format. Hour 1, we look local. What's going on the Pacific Ocean side of town? Hour 2 is Freedman Friday, our comprehensive conversation around reparations. We do it every week in the second hour on Fridays. You can find all of them on YouTube under the hashtag Freedman Fridays. And today we'll be talking with Davon Love out of Baltimore and check in on the progress on that East Coast city. Hour 3, we're opening up the phone lines for whatever you like, although we will be hearing from Councilmember Heather Hutt pertaining to today being the opening day of the Olympics. But you are invited in every single hour while I'm on the mic, 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580, that's the path in. Or you could also meet me on social media at KBLA 1580 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those places, but especially Instagram and X, aka Twitter. Anyway, comment, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. We are at KBLA 1580. My handle is DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. It's been busy around here, but I'm so happy to have back in the saddle with me on this Friday our regular contributor. He is the founder and president of ES Advisors, which is a public policy consulting firm, also worked on many a campaign. Ed Sanders, good morning.
Dominique, good morning. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you in a long time. The world has changed since the last time I talked to you.
Right? I went to Africa, came back, and all kinds of crazy things started happening, and I feel like it is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, I think you're right. It's been a hot summer to start, and I think August is going to be incredible.
Yeah,
Certainly
August.
On the world stage.
On the world stage. But,
on the world stage and locally.
Right, and they seem really intertwined right now. I mean, You know, I don't know that California is a huge state, right, Ed? But when I look at the what's happening on the national and international scene, and you see the footprints of Vice President Kamala Harris, of Nancy Pelosi, even Gavin Newsom, it's like California is in the spotlight this election season in more than a local way, right?
And that's to be expected. I mean, like, this is what, the fifth, sixth largest economy in the world, one of the most diverse areas of people on the planet, if not the most diverse, state or region on the planet. And so you've got, these strong education centers. So you're getting people that are learning to spot the issues, address the issues, and can articulate the issues in very strong fashion. To your point of Pelosi and Newsom, and now certainly the vice president, soon to be president.
I mean, the fact that the conversation was, oh, well, we can't have two people from California on the ticket at the same time, so it couldn't be Newsom and Harris, even though because the Constitution says you can't unless you give up your delegates or something crazy like that. So therefore, you can't have Newsom and Harris on the ballot at the same time, which means conceivably, I mean, fingers crossed, she wins this year and is reelected in 28. Then you could have Gavin Newsom in 32. You could have Californians in the White House for quite some time.
Yeah, well, I think, the voice of the Democratic Party is certainly going to, originate from California. I think, in 8 years' time, quite honestly, we're probably electing the first Latino president in Alex Padilla. It's that broad of diversity in the state in terms of like leadership that you'll see.
Interesting. Senator Padilla was on this show on Tuesday. If you missed it, go to YouTube. It's there, youtube.com, KBLA 1580. And he said that he felt like the Latino vote right now, although it's not a monolith, would break for Vice President Kamala Harris. I saw some polling from CNN yesterday that seemed to indicate just that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first question, whenever I hear that conversation, your point about it not being a monolith is right on, because sometimes people will loop in Cubans as Latinos and
which
so,
technically they are.
I don't know. I don't know that I count their origin the same way.
Well, they count themselves as Cuban, as Latin. They speak Spanish. Anyway, I get your point. They tend to be politically very conservative.
Yeah, and it's two totally different orientations towards politics, and I think when you start looking at sort of the Central American, Mexican wave of immigrants, it's really about people coming to the country trying to forge a new path. It's that looking forward. In a lot of the Cuban politics is really sort of tied to what you see in the South, which is about holding back people.
Yeah, of course we're talking about mostly the lighter-hued Cubans at that point, but yeah, understood.
Right, and so you get a different little blend in terms of how Latinos break. I agree with them. I think the Democratic Party message is the party, as the Vice President said, it's the party looking forward, and the issues that they've laid out, and really the focus on the middle class and the working class is really what I think. Once most Americans step back and start to listen to the messages, I think the ones that aren't voting just because they want a white president over a black president should start breaking her way.
And ones who don't think the white man's ice is colder. Well, I mean, there are all kinds of different, we know there are lots of election issues. It's not only about ethnicity, but well, I got a lot of questions, of course, as usual, but there's a lot of things going on nationally, internationally, and right here. Were you surprised, though? I got to ask you this, because you've been on many a campaign. Are you surprised how quickly the Democrats have coalesced behind presumptive presidential nominee Kamala Harris?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, I think, at this juncture, 100 days out, the mechanics of even thinking to challenge her were not available to people. I mean, they really weren't. Just the apparatus of, the Biden-Harris campaign cash, everything that had already been raised for Biden could only go to her because she was the vice president on that campaign. And so now you're talking about if you actually did have a new nominee, could they raise the sort of money in 100 days to mount an effective campaign? And the answer is no. So effectively, no, there wasn't going to be a challenge. Under the surface, you and I know that there's a lot of discomfort with Kamala throughout, and it's with anybody, right? No one person truly has the support. But as she steps forward and it's her against Trump, yeah, everyone gets a line because it's a binary choice. It's so obvious that you've got to go. When you're looking at it, Kamala versus Trump, it's Kamala, and it's easy. It's not even a choice. If you have an open, race, everyone chooses their candidate as we should.
Right. Well, after a lot of speculation and conversation about it, Michelle and Barack Obama have now endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democratic presidential nominee. And that, it seems like a big deal. I know some people were mad at Obama for waiting, and others thought that I actually kind of didn't think he would endorse until after she had been chosen as the nominee at the convention, or at least in a virtual vote, because I know how strategic he is. But they have said we will do everything we can to elect Kamala Harris the next president of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, he's thoughtful about that. I mean, he's thoughtful about being the president of the party so he doesn't weigh in too early. But I think, Kamala's already lined up the pledged delegates to make her the presumptive nominee. So, I mean, at this point, she is going to be the nominee if all of the pledged delegates remain as they are.
So, I mean, if she's been the presumptive nominee for days, why they wait till today?
Good question. I think it's just when they announced it. It's been a heavy news cycle this week.
It has, yeah.
You want Barack and Michelle's voice to hit on a day where people can really truly pay attention to it. All this week you had Netanyahu in Congress yesterday. That took I would say a day off the campaign, and so you wouldn't have really released it then. And in the days before that, it's just there was news every other day. So, yeah. I don't. There wasn't anything about like a delay. It just to me just seemed like the day they did it.
So you don't feel like there's any deeper story there. You just think it's calendaring and news cycle and that kind of thing. Because if you go back, Barack Obama was one of the people who said he wanted to see an open process, an open convention. There were a lot of prominent Dems saying that. And then many of the people that were being put forth as an alternative to Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, went ahead and endorsed her, which seemed like it kind of changed the trajectory. And then we had a guy, I will admit he was a bit of a troll, but a guy who called in here yesterday talking about, the Democrats are going to, at the last minute, betray Vice President Harris and swap her out on the ticket. That's after all the money has been raised. That seems pretty unlikely, right?
Yeah, I mean, to your point about when we started this conversation, it's going to be a wild summer. I think that's too wild. But the events have opened up a lot of scuttlebutt, and there's not. I'm trying to say this diplomatically, but there are so many notions out there that are just really silly from the basis, of this, and it just is like, you see it on the Republican side, right? You really see all the silly stuff that the red meat that the Trump campaign or these conservatives throw out. People take it and run with it, and they're just the silliest notions. And I'm going to put that one in that category because I just don't see that happening. It doesn't. There's no case for that. But, it is what it is. You have to, sort through all the silliness. And there's a lot of it out there right now.
Oh, my goodness. There sure is. Well, we'll get into the silliness, as Ed calls it. But also, I want to talk about Governor Gavin Newsom's directive regarding unhoused folks in the state and the encampments. What does it really mean? Or is it the Republicans are saying he's just grandstanding and grabbing the news cycle, but others are concerned. Plus, the Olympics start today. The Olympics kick off today in Paris. There's a lot going on. It's KBLA Talk 1580. Let's talk about it.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Just a few short months ago, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed 11 felony charges against Diana Taran, an assistant district attorney for Los Angeles County. The charges allege that Taran unlawfully accessed confidential computer data, including police officer files in 2018, and continued to use them after joining the DA's office in 2021. Ironically, Taran, who is now on administrative leave, oversaw the Public Integrity Division responsible for handling high-profile cases of police misconduct and public corruption, including the charges brought against LA City Council member Karen Price last June. To be sure, the case against Price has raised plenty of eyebrows. Indeed, one noted legal scholar has said publicly, and I quote, "Everything about this prosecution reeks," close quote. Could AG Bonta, with aspirations to become California governor, be punishing Taran for her role in DA George Gascon's police accountability agenda to curry favor with police unions? Could DA Gascon be using the case against Price to showcase his tough stance on crime and political corruption as he vies to retain his seat as DA? Honestly, I have no idea, but here's what I know for sure. Karen Price has been elected and re-elected by thousands of voters, mostly black and brown, who stand to be further disenfranchised if this matter is not handled correctly, which is why it matters to us at KBLA Talk 1580. When the prosecutor is being prosecuted, it seems to me that at the very least, there ought to be a thorough, top-to-bottom, independent review of all cases under Diana Taran's purview to ensure that none of these cases have been tainted. Justice and fundamental fairness demand no less, if public trust truly matters. And I hope it does. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your feedback.
We're thrilled to announce that the Dear Future Wifey podcast is now available on the Urban One Podcast Network. This show, hosted by Latiris R. Whitfield, explores the journey of discovering and rediscovering love and relationships. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, Dear Future Wifey has become a prototype for discussions about love and relationships. Learn how to rediscover love, heal, and have faith in relationships. Go to urbanonepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? My...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, talking to Ed Sanders and you, 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. And, of course, let me check in, see what's going on in this chat. Y'all be off the chain. You can find it at KBLA 1580. and then that's on youtube.com, of course. So, Ed Sanders, look, before we get into anything else, we have to talk about our mutual friend and longtime LA Politico, Antonio Villaraigosa, stepping into the governor's race. This was announced this week during a very busy news cycle. But this is a crowded race, right? You've got the former controller, Betty Yee, the school superintendent of schools, Tony Thurmond, the lieutenant governor, Eleni Kolinakis, and then I'm probably forgetting a couple people.
Yeah, and it may not be done, but I mean, your first point, it's a big news week, and for California, that I think Antonio's entry into the race, begins to make this really an energetic race. I mean, you're going to see a lot of good candidates. I'm excited about it. Listen, we've known Antonio for a number of years, and I would say, having seen him in the last few months, you see this energy about him that it's like that you could see it, that he's got the energy to run. And I always love where Antonio is coming from. He hasn't shied away from the big issues. I think, for us in LA, when we think back to when he ran for mayor, one of the first things he was trying to do was fix the education system. And that wasn't, the purview of the mayor. And so what I like about Antonio is he's a bold thinker. He takes a look at the state. He knows the state inside out. And what he proposes is usually something to push the ball down the road in order to fix a problem.
I mean, what I like about Antonio is that he's a real progressive. To me, he's not a progressive poser. He actually is pretty forward-thinking in most areas. I also like that he, we have a track record to look at. We don't have to wonder how he'll govern. He did an amazing job as mayor of LA. I think he's underrated, actually, as a mayor. And also what I like about Villaraigosa, which I think is important. I mean, when was the last time we had a Latino governor? Was it Pio Pico? When you talk about, we will have a Latino in that seat. And Villaraigosa, to me, is one that is solidly in coalition with black people. Not in a phony way, not in a performative way. Nobody worked harder to get Karen Bass elected. He was part of that chain of cooperation where we went from black speaker to Latino speaker to black speaker to Latino speaker. I think we did that at least 3 or 4 times. And so I don't question, his ability to be a champion for African American community as well as the Latino community.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, he has spent time in all of the various communities, and you see that when you see him speaking. It is conversational about your issues. It's not sort of, a lot of politicians step in and will give you a Martin Luther King quote and try to tell you what they think, having really not spent time in the community. And I think one of the things about Antonio is he's made his way and has spent time legitimately in each of the communities around the state.
Yeah, and he understands, I mean, the hood. I know that sounds really corny, but he does. It's not, when we were doing Summer of Success, he would, in the Baldwin Village, the so-called jungle, he would show up, at night, be kicking it with people. Anyway.
Right.
Kwame Allah says Thurmond and Villaraigosa are names that get my attention so far, and I do think it will be a tough race because Betty Yee is a strong candidate. She's got deep roots in the African American community, even though she's an Asian American woman. You got a black man in the race in Thurmond, and Kolinakis, who's already in statewide office and who is got deep pockets, from what I understand. Now, to be clear, for people who are confused, this is not going against Gavin Newsom. This is once Gavin Newsom finishes his term, which is 2026.
Yeah, and it's, look, there's a lot facing the state. I mean, when I think about the state governor, the first thing I think of is, is the state's education system. And, you put it right at the forefront. Like, our students are still struggling coming out of COVID. And, we're going to need some bold conversation about that. I think to the chat's point, Thurman, Villaraigosa are going to be bold in education. I think that is where a lot of our conversation is going to, or at least a lot of my conversation is going to rest.
It's funny, I had a teacher, Bryant Odega, on this week, and he was worried about Villaraigosa and education because of his support for charter schools and some of the work that he did when he was in the mayor's office. And I don't know, I'm not sure I see the daylight between the two on that issue, but I haven't done the research. I do know that Thurman, though, I don't know how much his portfolio of experience includes things like houselessness and housing and some of the other issues that are going to be really continue to be critical for our state.
Yeah, I think, everyone in this race is going to have to really put forward some thorough, thoughtful ideas on what happens. I think what you and I have talked about this, the status quo is troubling right now, right? And it had been troubling before COVID, and post-COVID, it's just a struggle for kids to sort of, one, catch up, but two, certainly to get, stronger in their education prospects.
Yeah.
And if we don't have that, right, like if we don't have that, everything that Donald Trump and Kamala are talking about for the future, man, it really makes it difficult for our community's middle class to spring into action if we don't have like that new educated generation coming forward.
We're heading into news, traffic, and sports right now. If you want to get in on the convo, 800-920-1580. That's the number. You can slide right in here. In the YouTube chat, which I told you just go to KBLA 1580 on YouTube. Paul Lee is saying that Donald Trump may drop JD Vance for Nikki Hayley, according to some Clinton advisor. I do think he's probably going to end up dropping Vance. Vance is in the negative favorability rating numbers, but they're saying he'll choose Nikki Hayley, try to maybe divide that Indian American community. I don't know what the strategy is. I want to get your thoughts on that and what that looks like logistically when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. It's the endorsement heard around the world. Barack and Michelle Obama endorsing Kamala Harris in the Democratic race for president. The former president and first lady released the video this morning showing Vice President Harris speaking on the phone with both of them. Obama could be heard saying, "Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office." California Governor Gavin Newsom is ordering state agencies to remove homeless camps. This after a Supreme Court ruling allowed cities to enforce bans on sleeping in public. Newsom's ruling only mandates state agencies to remove camps from state property, including roads, libraries, parks, post offices, sidewalks, schools, and playgrounds. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Me and the kids were always messaging. They LOL'd, I ROFL'd, but then I changed phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LA Mayor Karen Bass arrived in Paris Thursday night to participate in today's opening ceremonies for the Summer Olympic Games. Bass is scheduled to join First Lady Jill Biden and several mayors of European cities in the final stages of walking with the Olympic torch. At the final destination, the torch will be lit, signaling that the games are about to begin. Bass is in Paris to observe the operations of the Summer Olympics, which will be in LA in 2028. The Chicago Bears are making sure former USC quarterback Caleb Williams will be ready for the 2024 season. The number one pick of this year's NFL draft is getting most of the reps in practice with the starting unit. Early reports indicate Williams has been impressive in the first 2 days of practice. The Bears have already named Williams their starter when they played their regular season opener September 8th against Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, man. Looks like Bobby needs a ride to the airport again.
Grab the keys.
Who's taking Auntie and her friends to the swap meet?
Grab the keys.
How about we, drop these boxes off at Miss Johnson?
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, you're all about getting things done. So do it all in a Chevy SUV. From the versatile Equinox and sporty Blazer to the roomy Traverse, our lineup of SUVs will carry you through every adventure. All you have to do is...
grab the keys?
That's how we do. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And Ed Sanders is here as well. So the chatter's been getting louder around Trump's buyer's remorse, discontent with his choice, JD Vance. I have said repeatedly that I think that choice was made right after, his assassination attempt, and when they were feeling like they were going to win. It's a done deal. We win between the problems, the division within the Democratic Party over whether or not Biden should resign, and the assassination attempt, and just all of the hoopla and success around the convention. I feel like they felt they were going to win. They didn't need help from the VP ticket. Now I think they're panicking because for whatever reason they don't know how to counteract Kamala Harris. Not saying it'll be an easy fight. I do think it's still a very close and tough race. But what do you think about Trump going ahead and dropping JD Vance, who, according to CNN poll yesterday, was in the negative 5% approval rating, which is something that has never happened in the history of vice presidents ever.
I wasn't ready for that little bit of stand-up comedy. I mean, like, look, JD Vance is he's about the worst candidate I've ever seen, right? You know, he's a puppet for a billionaire tech guy, and, you know, is about as extreme as you can get. But even in his extreme positions, there's still a lack of authenticity about him. And he's completely green. I mean, his opening speeches, both at the convention and out on the stump, honestly, he's not ready for the big lights. And I think every Republican on their side sees that. And so, yeah, I do think, I tend to agree with you. I think they're going to drop him. I think they are going to move to try to counteract what they already know is the independent female vote in this country is energized against them. And, you know, it goes back to the Supreme Court ruling. We've seen it in sort of the last 3 national cycles. The issue of abortion is weighing heavy on that party, particularly with motivating women voters. Nikki Haley, to me, isn't the answer. I just fundamentally don't think that Republicans are going to vote for or really like get energized around her, given, you know, look, she took down the Confederate flags or at least voted for it. You know what I mean? They're not going to view her as authentic. That was one of the reasons why I never thought she could get the nomination in the first place. So he can throw her on there. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, she is a woman. She is Indian American, but clearly she's a Confederate. I don't think there's any question about that. She couldn't tell you why the Civil War was fought. She is very, very close to Vance, JD Vance, in a lot of the positions. She's just a little bit more palatable as a human being in terms of her image. The policy positions are not significantly different. I doubt she would say, you know, the country's being run by childless cat ladies, but she will dismantle Social Security. She's the one that autographed a bomb, a missile going to Gaza. Yeah. She, you know, she's clearly quite anti-black. She's not better on abortion than Vance. She may not think you have to stay in a you know, domestic violence laden relationship for the sake of the kids, but I think they're pretty close on policy positions.
Yeah, I mean, like most Republicans are, right? Like most of them are really right up against the line. You know, he's resorting to gimmicks, right? I mean, that's really what we're seeing is that, one, Trump's decision making is flawed, right? Like his vision about, one, the country, but who he would entrust the country to as vice president. It was flawed with JD Vance, and I think that's sort of the next big piece is he's now the old man in the race, and it's his judgment that is being called into question. So if he makes a move like that, there's a lot of questions about how did you come to that decision? Why now? What are you doing? And if it feels gimmicky, you know, people, if there are truly people that aren't decided on the 2 tickets, you know, I think it's one of those things that move people off of him.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, and he may be thinking about that money because remember she's got that PAC, which had now moved over to Harris. I can't remember the name of it. It's an Indian American PAC that was supporting Nikki Haley, and they pivoted to Kamala Harris, and Nikki Haley's actually suing, and it's a significant pot of money. So he may be thinking about that. But I do think the fact that she has shown herself to be just a big fake, immediately turning around and endorsing him after saying he should never be president, could be a problem.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, the conversation in the Indian diaspora? Like, if we went down to Jamaica and talked to folks of Indian descent there, what their thoughts are on the difference between the two. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I honestly, you know, I don't care what Trump does. It doesn't really truly matter to me anymore. I think the energy that Kamala Harris has injected to the race, I don't think that the Republicans can ever match it. I think that Kamala will end up remaking the Electoral College map, much like Obama did in 2008. And so I can be a little dismissive of what the Republicans do. Like, oh, yeah, they can do whatever. They can, put an alien on the ticket. It won't matter.
Yeah. Maybe 50 Cent. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. But I don't want to be overconfident.
Amber Rose for VP.
Right.
Well, look, Ed, when you say remake the electoral map, what does that mean?
If you'll remember back in 2008, there were states like Virginia and Indiana that Democrats really didn't have a shot of winning. But Obama's candidacy lifted the Democratic base in such a way. And John McCain at that point showed himself, really with his vice presidential pick of Sarah Palin to be, really unqualified to be president. And next thing you know, by the end of the tally, Obama's won Indiana. And I, you and I would have never predicted that he could have won Indiana going into the race. But he did. And he changed Virginia. And I believe he won North Carolina as well that year. And so those were states that had really been solidly Republican. I think, in this case, Georgia, Texas, Virginia, North Carolina, I think, the questionable states like Wisconsin, sometimes Minnesota, those states, I think, go for her. I think her energy carries Wisconsin. I think Texas becomes in play, which will be kind of interesting to see. That's a bold one. That's a bold pick right there. But I'd be interested to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing if not fascinating. I think the cat lady comments have definitely mobilized white women, other women too, even cat lovers, people without kids. You saw Jennifer Aniston yesterday. She's not one of those celebrities that jumps into politics, blasting JD Vance. And that was on all the news cycles. And you've got, there's a massive call, white women for Kamala Harris. They raised $3 million, I think it was yesterday. I don't know if he then is kicked off the ticket by Trump. Does that take the wind out of the sails of the childless cat ladies and dog ladies with kids like me who are like, what are you talking about? I mean, not that I was going to vote for them anyway, but okay, now we're defined by our kids, our pets, and our husbands.
Yeah, like if we're honest, like the vice presidential pick really rarely motivates you. You know what I mean? Like it's rarely like, ooh, let me go out and, vote just because this person's been picked vice president. It's really more of a statement. And, I think depending on what news channel you're looking at, you're going to get different reads. And,
no doubt.
And really, honestly, it's like, on MSNBC, it's their campaign is going to be in disarray. And it's going to be an overt admission that they can't beat Kamala Harris. On the other side, they'll try to hold Nikki Hayley up as though she's the second coming, and it isn't what it is. So, in the end game, I think it's a news bump for a day or two, and then people get back to sort of it's the top of the ticket. It's Trump and Harris. So.
Yeah, and honestly, I am just enjoying the little news break from the Orange Menace, because all they've been talking about is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for at least this week. So I'm loving it. We're talking with Ed Sanders, and we are going to talk about, when we come forward, I do want to get your thoughts on Governor Gavin Newsom's directive telling the states to break down those state property, I should say, to break down those encampments of unhoused folks and encouraging cities to do the same. He says in a humane manner. What does that mean, and what will it really change? I'll take a look at that next on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Finding a path to a meaningful career, one where you're making an impact and making enough money, it can be tough. There's one path, though, that many young adults are landing on that leads them to careers where they can work outdoors, protect our environment, take on climate change, and get paid while they train. It's the California Conservation Corps. You just have to be 18 through 25 years old to enroll, or a U.S. military veteran through age 29, and you have to be a California resident. That's it. There's no education requirement, no employment history needed. Some Corps members need to finish up high school. Others are college grads. But during their 1 year of service, all CCC Corps members can earn the work experience and certifications needed to become a wildland firefighter, forestry technician, install solar, or build trails in our state parks. Learn how you can enroll at ccc.ca.gov. Do this for you. Become the person you want to be through the California Conservation Corps. Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
So rich. So indulgent. Wrapping my skin in softness. It's Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. My new go-to for silky smooth skin in my shower. With Olay Indulgent Moisture, my skin said bye-bye dry, hello glow in just 14 days. Indulge with Olay Body Wash.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Yes, that is all true, and you are welcome in always. KBLA delegation, just call me, 800-920-1580. Kwamel's in the chat talking about we need more amnesty days for callers. And so, final hour today. In the 8 o'clock hour, we will grant that request. Anyone, even if you've called in earlier in the week, we're going to lift that one call maximum, and you can call in the final hour of the show at 800-920-1580. Governor Gavin Newsom has, talking with Ed Sanders, by the way, in case you're not paying attention, Governor Gavin Newsom has really kind of moved on the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in favor of Grants Pass, Oregon, which says that cities, municipalities, counties, states can remove encampments. They can criminalize homelessness. They can fine and jail the unhoused, even if they are not offering them an alternative place to sleep. And that was a change, because before that, at least some cities in California were saying if you can't offer shelter or housing, you cannot just remove people. Well, that's changed, and now the governor of California, which sadly is the homeless or unhoused person's capital of the country at this moment, has given an executive order directing state agencies to, quote, move urgently to address dangerous encampments while supporting and assisting the individuals living in them. He says it provides guidance for cities and counties to do the same. That was him talking about the Supreme Court. Now he's saying move these folks with urgency and in a humane way. What do you think, Ed?
And a lot of it is tied up in the language, right? Dangerous encampments, moving dangerous encampments is what he's authorizing the agencies to do. And look, there's no sugarcoating the issue. The number of people that remain unhoused in the state is we see it. It is an issue that you can't get up and drive to work or go to school without seeing, and it raises a lot of concerns for people in day-to-day life. I think most Californians want to find some measure of solution to it. On the sort of public safety side of it, moving the encampments around freeway entrances and some of the underpasses where people are right up on, heavy streets. You really want to have that authority to do that. I think we've seen some stories where, kids walking to school have to go, either through a series of encampments or around. And there's no great place to reside if you don't have a home, right?
Well,
and
California
so
has 180,000 people who are unhoused, but we're not and Republicans like to point to this as a California problem. Maybe he's trying to, improve his standing as a political entity, but also there are 653,000 people across the country. This is a nationwide problem. There's been a 12% leap in homelessness across the country. So
and it's going to grow. I mean, we know the economies are going to shake out as the future continues to go, right? Like, this is going to be a continuing issue. I think what this sets the table for, I'm less worried about California. Like Gavin Newsom, I look at his direction, and I think, to our earlier point, his leadership matters, and I think his agencies will act accordingly. I think when you start to get down to some of the local governments, there are some areas where you question, what sort of activity will happen. I think the Supreme Court case is really where you kind of look at it. It's opening up all of these different agencies across the country, whether local and other states, to really treat the unhoused, in an undignified manner. I think I have a little more faith and trust in what Gavin Newsom's government is trying to do. And maybe I'm misplaced, but I don't think so.
Well, some homeless advocates for the unsheltered, have blasted this, saying it further criminalizes homelessness. You see San Francisco Mayor London Breed looking at this as a green light for what she already was talking about doing, which is an aggressive clearing of encampments, including jailing people. Meanwhile, LA is kind of like, oh, well, we're already doing that, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, LA has been Karen Bass stepped in day one and, has been finding shelter for people and actively moving people off. I think London Breed is in a different situation in San Francisco. I mean, the San Francisco's almost entire economy is starting to implode on itself because of the flight out of business and residents. But
it's not really fair to point the finger at the unhoused for that flight out. The tech barons were just fine with tons of houseless people as long as they had to work in San Francisco. Now, Facebook and all these other companies have allowed people to work remotely. Of course, they're going to go live where it's cheaper. I mean, regardless of what Elon Musk says, that he can't stand dealing with unhoused criminals and that's why he's going to Texas, that's bull. He never even lived in San Francisco. He lived in Bel Air.
Yeah, agreed. But I mean, I think that narrative about San Francisco is out there, and you know, whether real or imagined, you know, the leader of that city's got to try to take some action to stem it. And again, I think San Francisco, LA, two totally different things. But and that's part of the problem with a state like California is you've got to enable. It's hard in California to put forward like blanket policies because the jurisdictions, the cities are so different, and so. You know, it is what at this point. I hate to say it like it is what it is, but I think it's authorizing the different entities and agencies within the state to act accordingly.
Right. I mean, if it's true what these San Francisco activists are saying, the woman from the Coalition on Homelessness, she says there's thousands of people waiting list right now for housing, and all the shelter beds in the city are full. So then, how do you clean up dangerous encampments? Where do you put the people? They're all going to go to jail, or we're just going to play whack-a-mole and keep moving people from neighborhood to neighborhood?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that. I mean, that's the answer that I think most people are looking for. You know, from the mayor of San Francisco, from the leadership there. You know, locking people up in jail doesn't seem like the answer. You know, we know the cost of imprisoning people. That's not, and let alone the morality of it. That doesn't seem like the option. But you know, we'll see what they come up with. Yeah, especially in light of this study by the Rand Corporation that found that moving in encampments doesn't have a long-term impact on the number of folks that are actually on the streets. I know Mayor Bass and others have pushed back on that assessment, but it doesn't seem to support the governor's executive order. I don't know that the impact is there, but I think the impact is felt on the citizens and residents of a city, right? And so if I'm driving to work and I see that an encampment under a freeway has been moved and cleaned up, I do feel the progress. I do feel, you know, my hope is if those people have been put into shelter, if it is sort of moving around, even in that, seeing an encampment cleared up, I tend to feel progress. And I think, you know, that I get where the report is coming from, but the action really may be for residents to feel, you know, measure of pride in the community. Well, we need to actually have progress, not just think we have. And and on the other hand, I do understand, you know, the dangers of these freeway fires like we saw in LA, not just to the freeway itself, but to those people living under it. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you know, the question of like the public toilets, you know, there's a lot that goes into, you know, keeping a city safe. You can quickly get, you know, disease running rampant if it's not careful. And so there's a lot of energy that you've got to spend on the unhoused population. And that's, I don't mean to make that say like, oh, you know, like as a negative, but you know, we've got to find a way to get people off the street. And, you know, I think, again, this is just another tool for that. Ed Sanders, as always, it's a joy to talk with you. Have a great weekend. I look forward to catching up with you. We got to talk about the Olympics next time we're on. Yes, we didn't even talk about the Olympics. Okay, it's time for Friedman Friday next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. It's the endorsement heard around the world.